Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Vihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmiham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Hari Om everyone, welcome back after quite a long break. It's interesting because the text that we are studying is Tattva Bodha, and everything that we do, whether it comes to the activities that we have in our mission or our sadhana that we do, or for that matter, even the duties that we are doing day in and day out, all of it should be aligned such that it should help us in Tattva Bodha. The Parayanam that we did has so much of the ability to contribute towards our sadhana chatushtaya, towards our love for Bhagwan. Goswamiji writes one chaupai where he says, Raghupati Bhagati Vari Chari Jala Binu Prayas hi Sooj hai. He says, O devotee, sprinkle your eyes with devotion to Bhagwan. And what will happen? You will come to know this tattva effortlessly. Binu prayase hi sooj hai. Without too much effort, too much of struggle inside, one can come to own up this knowledge. Tulasi dasa jagat chidavilasa bujhata bujhata bujhe. He says, what is the result of this devotion? That having gained this devotion to Bhagwan, I see this creation not as bhuta vilasa, but I see this as Chidavilasa. Sarvam Brahmamayam, right? What we just heard now. He says that is the contribution of having this single pointed devotion to Bhagwan. Mind becomes tuned and we start feeling that we are able to own up this knowledge more and more. Tulasi dasa jaga Chidavilasa bujata bujata bujhe. So having tasted the devotional flavor, we come back again to our Tattva Bodha. Let me just make sure that I am on the right slides over here. Okay. Yes. So what we had seen last time was Bhagwan is describing Lakshana of Atma. So we saw Stula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, what they are, and Atman is beyond that. Then we saw Avasthatraya, that also we elaborately inquired into. And now we are seeing Panchakosha. What Bhagavan wants to indicate is Atma, but he is indicating it through these Panchakoshas. And in and through that, we also know how to tune these koshas, because that is what we use for Vyavahara. Right? So both things he is accomplishing here, telling us precisely what is the nature of these koshas, telling how to tune it, and then how to transcend it. So we saw the koshas of Annamaya first. Right? So I won't go too much into the recap, but just the image should bring some memories. It has been almost 3 weeks. So Annamaya kosha was described. Kosha means that which covers something. Right? So Annamaya is as though covering my true identity with, or true identity as consciousness. So there also we saw how to tune it and how to transcend it. Tuning is mainly with this understanding that I am dependent on this creation. Right? And then we also saw different causes of this physical body. So first immediate cause is food. Then we went to 5 elements, then karma, and all the way back to avidya. Right? So all those points come over here. Then we also saw about pranamaya kosha. What are pranas? What are the upapranas? That discussion also we had. Then where we had stopped last time was at manomaya kosha. Right? This mental sheath, which is the seat of all emotions. And this is the direct controller, you want to say, of our sense organs. How I will interact in this world is directly determined by what is the quality of my manomaya kosha. You see somebody, same situation is there. Somebody is very understanding in that situation. Very, very patient, just looking at that situation holistically. Whereas there might be another person who gets very upset, with a very small thing also. The situation is the same. Pancha Mahabhutas are also the same. Pranas are also the same. Why are these two people responding differently? So that response difference comes from Manomaya Kosha. And this Manomaya Kosha, it should be such that there should be thoughts from Shastra, from Bhagavad Gita, from Ramayana, which keep rising in this mind and also keep guiding us in our life. You know how an ocean is, right? Continuously there are waves coming. So like this in our mind, there should be waves of Vedanta Vichara, waves of devotional texts that we study. Those ideas should keep coming up and they should keep guiding us. In Taittiriya Upanishad, this is called as mind should become Vedamaya. Vedamaya, at different levels we can understand it. But simpler way to understand is the guidance given to us from Bhagavad Gita, from Ramayana, from Upanishads, that should be available with me readily. And not only that, I should be able to use it while responding to a situation in my life. Some of the texts that we study, their names are also beautiful. Shivananda Lahari. Lahari means as though there are waves of devotion that are coming. And this mind becomes our best friend. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says there are only 2 conditions of the mind. There is no third condition. One is either your mind is your friend or it is your enemy. Either it is your mitra or it is your shatru. How will I make my mind my friend? He says, bring these thoughts. Do sadhana such that effortlessly these thoughts keep coming. Then this aspect of our personality blossoms more and more. Okay, so 3 koshas we saw. Now comes the intellectual sheath, which is also called as Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya kaha, Vijnanamaya kaha, Buddhi Jnanendriya Panchakam, Buddhi Jnanendriya Panchakam, Militva, Militva, Yo Bhavati, Savijnanamaya Kosha, Savijnanamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya kaha, Buddhi Jnanendriya Panchakam, Militva, Yo Bhavati, Savijnanamaya Kosha. What is Vijnanamaya Kosha? The student is asking a question now. First, teacher defines technically, okay, from that Sukshma Sharira, what we saw, which one of it is called as Vijnanamaya Kosha. Remember, all these discussions are now of Sukshma Sharira. Huh? If you want to map it to the three Sharira that we saw, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya belong to Sukshma Sharira. So he says, Buddhi Jnanendriya Panchakam Militva. Intellect and the 5 organs of perception together is called as Vijnanamaya Kosha. The previous one, Manomaya, was organs of perception and mind, whereas here the predominance is on intellect. Yo Bhavati Savijnanamaya Kosha. This is an introductory text, so Bhagwan does not elaborate too much. But each kosha we can discuss for hour and a half. Just different aspects, different facets of it. And as and when we study Puranas and Itihasa, a lot of this becomes more and more clearer. Okay. So what constitutes the intellectual sheath? He says the 5 organs of perception and the intellect. Okay, simple. Now, since we have already spent sufficient time while discussing these points, we don't have to again repeat those pointers. But why intellect in particular? He says Vijnanamaya Kosha has something, its function is slightly different from the mind. Mind is more of emotions, whereas intellect is more about decision making. Analytical ability, right? That is the function of this intellect. So that is why Vijnanamaya Kosha is separately described over here. So what is this, ability to analyze and think? What exactly do we mean by this? So it says role of Vijnanamaya Kosha is whenever we are given different options, being able to thoroughly evaluate the pros and cons of all of them, but most importantly, arrive at a decision. He said that is the role of Vijnanamaya Kosha. Whereas Manomaya Kosha is more of the emotional side. Now you might have a particular emotion for 3 different things. So just by having emotion, we don't arrive at a decision. For example, somebody wants to decide which college to go to, right? Now you have emotion towards the place where one college is. Another place, you have emotion towards the degree that this college is offering, the program that it's offering. And third, you have emotion towards the minor that you want to pick. Now you see, emotion might be there in 3 places, but for you to arrive at a decision, you need to evaluate thoroughly the pros and cons. Right? So this analytical ability is the role of Vijnanamaya Kosha. And this is not only with admission. Anything that you take, it's a great ability to have where you can thoroughly analyze any given topic. It could be a social topic. It could be a political topic. It could be some scientific topic. The emphasis more is on how does this person think, right? That person is not only looking at direct answers, but that person is more interested in the path through which you can arrive at an particular answer. And whenever we have to do this kind of thinking, what we need is a lot of data. You cannot think without data. Like, for example, if you tell me to think about nuclear physics, what will I think? Because I don't have any idea about the terms. I don't have ideas about the depth of that knowledge. So whenever chintanam has to be done, analysis has to be done, you need that data readily available. So one of the roles of intellectual sheet is to access that data and analyze with that data. And somebody who can do that effortlessly, that person is considered to be a subject matter expert, right? If you have an attorney or someone who is arguing a court, arguing a case, let us say, who is considered as a good attorney? One who can readily access all the previous judgments, right? He can easily cross-reference the cases. He knows where to look for which point that he is trying to make. So all facets of life, we should think about it. Somebody who can do this analytical thinking, that is a great blessing, and it comes with more sattva. If mind is agitated, recollection is difficult. What is that? In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says this, right? Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha. He says if mind there is anger or some kind of thought, first thing that it will take away is our ability to recollect. So that person who is able to keep their calm, for that person, this recollection will be easier. Whatever we have studied in the past, whatever we have gathered data in the past, that data will become readily available. And in and through that, you can navigate. Okay. And the natural result of this analytical ability is to have a decisive nature. Because many times we see in ourselves also that we evaluate so much, we discuss so much, we spend so much of time analyzing options. But if somebody asks, what did you decide? So that thing I did not do. Even while discussion, right? Somebody you are discussing something, some point you picked up and you discussed Vedantic topic only. But then finally you ask, what was your conclusion, about all this discussion? They'll give like 2 or 3 or 4 options, which this is also possible, that is also possible. One who is able to systematically arrive at a conclusion, that person has Vijnanamaya Kosha fully blossomed. The downside of this is doership becomes very prominent due to Vijnanamaya Kosha. Means if I have, let us say, planned something very thoroughly, okay, thoroughly I analyzed a situation, came to a decision, everything I did. And then somebody comes and just tosses the whole thing out of the window. That sorrow which comes at that time is because of Vijnanamaya Kosha identification. So it works both ways. That more stronger this Vijnanamaya Kosha identification is, stronger is my kartrutva. Let us say if I was not, as much a part of that decision-making process or whatever, then the kartrutva by itself becomes little less. But what is Vedanta's way of telling us to engage ourselves? Vedanta says, have the first 2 to fullest extent, as much as possible, right? Nothing wrong with analyzing, nothing wrong with having a decisive nature. But only one thing we should understand is the main karta is Bhagavan, not me. Means he has given me this opportunity to think and do everything, but one who will actually accomplish it is Bhagavan only. So instead of becoming karta, too strong karta, he says become karana. And Karana also has to think very thoroughly. It doesn't mean that if somebody is an instrument of Bhagwan, that person is careless about the work. Like our Bharatji, the day before he leaves to Ayodhya, right, to bring Bhagwan back and to coronate Bhagwan in the forest, day before he leaves Ayodhya to go towards the forest, the previous night he spends all in thorough arrangement in Ayodhya with regards to policies, with regards to security of the kingdom and everything. And there one line Goswamiji writes where he says that all of this belongs to Bhagwan, I cannot be careless about it. So that is Vedanta's suggestion to all sadhakas, that Vijnanamaya Kosha we should blossom to the fullest, but be careful about that other aspect. Because Kartrutva, if it is too strong, then the whole process of doing that Chintanam and all gives sorrow. What is the point? You did so many things, but end of the day, you felt more agitated. Another downside of Vijnanamaya Kosha is having a doubting nature. If somebody is too intellectual, then to have Shraddha becomes a little difficult for that person. That is why in Taittiriya Upanishad, the first thing which is mentioned with Vijnanamaya Kosha is Shraddha. They say, let us have a lot of analytical ability, but at the same time, let us pay attention to that Shraddha also, based on which we should do this analysis. So where is this quality getting used in sadhana or in adhyatma? He says we should be able to, just like how we analyze worldly matters, right? How we analyze options when it comes to worldly objects. He said we should also be able to analyze Vedantic ideas. Means systematically think through Vedanta, arrive at the same conclusion that our Upanishads are pointing us towards. If that happens, then we have fully used our Vijnanamaya Kosha. The last one is Anandamaya Kosha. Okay, the fifth one. So we'll read it first. Anandamayah kaham, Anandamayah kaham, Evameva karana sharira bhuta, Evameva karana sharira bhuta, Avidyastha, Avidyastha, Malina Sattvam, Priyadivrittis Sahitam, Priyadivrittis Sahitam, Sat, Sat, Anandamayah Koshah, Anandamayah Koshah, Etat Kosha Panchakam, Etat Kosha Panchakam, Anandamayah Kaham, Evameva Karana Sharira Bhuta, Avidyastha, Malina Sattvam, Priyadivrittis Sahitam, Sat, Anandamayah Koshah, Etat Kosha Panchakam. Now the last sheath called as Anandamaya Kosha. So what is Anandamaya Kosha? Homework. Okay. Evam eva karana sharira bhuta. I mean, this is the same as karana sharira. So now it is our homework to go back and compare it. Not right now, later, to see how Anandamaya Kosha is similar to karana sharira. And it is situated in avidya, avidyastha. Just like karana sharira. Now which avidya? Ignorance of my true nature. That itself is called as Anandamaya Kosha. That itself is called as Karana Sharira. What is other indicator? It is Malina Sattvam. Malina Sattvam means that Sattva which is overpowered by Rajas and Tamas. Or rather, in this case, predominantly Tamas. Now, what is the nature of sattva? In general, we understand nature of sattva as knowledge and happiness. Nature of sattva meaning knowledge and happiness will take place in that mind which has these gunas, right? When mind is sattvic, we say my knowledge ability to grasp is high and my mind is more cheerful. But over here, it is malina sattva. So with malina sattva, what happens is, I say the same statement, but it is a little odd in the sense, let us say deep sleep, right? When I wake up, what do I say? I did not know, and yet I was happy. Whereas sattva guna should have been, I knew it very well, and then I knew I was happy. But because there is malinata, there is tamo guna which is predominant. So ignorance is there. And at the same time, ananda is also there. Right? That is why I say, I slept very well. This joy was experienced in this karana sharira. Meaning there was no vikshepa. There was no agitation because of which that ananda which is my own swarupa was available to me in that deep sleep state. But unfortunately, because I did not know, it was as though I could not enjoy it at that time. Later on, I just claim that I slept very well, but at that time, I was not there. If somebody is able to go to that state in waking, that is what we call as samadhi. Going to deep sleep-like state while you are fully aware, that state is called as samadhi. But anyway, the point was to explain what is malina sattva. Okay, malina sattva means that which is overpowered by tamo guna. What is this priyadi vritti sahitam? He says, in waking state, is karana sharira there or not? In dream state, is karana sharira there or not? He says, karana sharira is very much there. So in waking state, what is its nature? He says, waking state, it is experienced as priyadi vritti sahitam. Means priya, moda and pramoda. These are the three words which is probably new for this text. Priya means that joy which we get anticipating something. Let us say you are going to meet some friend, right, who has said that he will come on such and such day. So now you are anticipating meeting that friend. That only gives you joy. Second is moda. That person actually comes here, right? You know that he's very well. You have not met him yet, but you know that he is just parking his car or something, right? It is little more than anticipation, that joy. So it is called as moda. And third one is pramoda. You actually meet that friend and you relive your memories from the past and everything. That is called as pramoda. Now the interesting thing is, where did the joy come from? Did it come from that friend? Or did it come from Anandamaya Kosha? I will leave it for you to think. If this point becomes clear, right, where does Ananda come from? A lot of our priorities in life will change. A lot of our interactions that we have in the world, the perspective towards those interactions will change. Because here, what is Bhagavan Shankaracharya telling us? He says, Ananda of Priyadi Vritti Sahitam is coming from this Anandamaya Kosha. And what is my understanding? That this joy is coming from that object, or this joy is coming from that individual. I will leave it at that. Maybe next class, if you want, we can think more. Okay. So that which is of this nature is called as Anandamaya Kosha. This concludes the description of Panchakosha. Etat Kosha Panchakam. This is called as, these are called as Panchakoshas. This topic we have discussed in Karana Sharira, so we went a little quick on this. Now you can compare whatever things were discussed, and you will notice every time Bhagwan brings back the topic which is already discussed and he adds something more to it. Like for example, he added the word Malina Sattvam. This you will not find in Karana Sharira description. Priyadi Vritti Sahitam. How does this joy express in waking state? Right? How does Anandamaya Kosha express in waking state? That you will not find in the previous description. So all this is called as Panchakosha Viveka. What are the two main points here? Know how to tune these koshas, but understand that I am not these koshas. In Vyavahara, I will use these koshas only, and those beautifully tuned koshas will be helpful. But when it comes to my understanding, I know that I am not different, or I am different from these koshas. I am unaffected by these koshas. Panchakoshat atitaha. That I am. Okay, this is how we should meditate. Now a quick summary, okay, of all these 5 koshas. You can call it as though, the 5 petals. You see these 5 petals of a beautiful personality. He said those things are what we have seen over here, what Bhagwan has shown us over here. First, let us start with Anandamaya Kosha. Okay, the last one. What is the blossoming of Anandamaya Kosha? He said that Anandamaya Kosha should have auspicious samskaras. Effortlessly, whatever comes to my mind should be that which is non-troubling and that which is auspicious. Because remember, thoughts don't directly come from Atma. In between, there is this layer of vasanas or Anandamaya Kosha. So purer the samskaras there, healthier the samskaras there, healthier will be the mind. Okay, that is called as the blossoming of Anandamaya Kosha. All sadhanas that we do, devotion that we do, is nourishing this kosha unknowingly. Okay, we should see our own samskaras, whether it is changing or not. Where do I get joy? Where do I get delight in? Several years ago, it could have been in some place, doing some particular thing was very delightful to me. But if sadhana samskaras have come in our life, then doing sadhana becomes a source of joy. Right? Whatever sadhana we might have taken, doing japa, puja, karma yoga also becomes a source of joy. So all of this is the play of samskaras. Okay. Next layer is Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now we are coming from top to down. First is Anandamaya, the 5th one. The 4th one is Vijnanamaya. What is the blossoming of this kosha? Being able to become a critical thinker about world also, anything of this world, any topic from this world, being able to thoroughly analyze it. But most importantly, becoming a critical thinker of Vedantic topics. Because many times we see, whenever Vedanta discussion starts, mind gives up. Either, it's not able to think in that line, or it's not able to relate to that topic. Like how in Drigdrisha Viveka, we had seen, right? The 5th verse. No deti nastametesha navruddhim yati nakshayam. Now that one verse, you can elaborate it so much. Means by this Vijnanamaya Kosha only, looking at what is the nature of this consciousness, which Vidyaranya Swamiji is talking over there. Any verse of Bhagavad Gita you take, being able to think deeper in that thing. Then comes Manomaya Kosha. What is the blossoming of that? In simple words, having the right emotions, which translates to seeing goodness in others. Okay, this is the contribution of Manomaya Kosha to our personality, which you otherwise call as a devotee. Right? So devotion is that sadhana which will blossom our Manomaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha, we had seen, is not only the physical air that we breathe in and out, right? Pranamaya Kosha was balam, means the strength. So expression of Pranamaya Kosha is enthusiasm. No matter which field we are, without enthusiasm, we cannot move forward, right? Either it is in our work, in our sadhana, spiritual life. Pranamaya Kosha is that which will keep us on the path. In spite of obstacles coming on our path, it is that ability which will make us stay on track and keep us enthusiastic. And the last one is Annamaya Kosha, which we should take care of and have a healthy body, right? A body which is, what is a healthy body? Somebody shared this. He said that body which does not remind you that I am there. That body is called as healthy body. Means if I don't tell you, pay attention to your teeth, you probably would not have noticed until the statement came that teeth is there, right? That means teeth are healthy right now. But if you had a toothache, no matter what Tattva Bodha is going on, again and again this body reminds, I am also here. So these are some ways of looking into these Pancha Koshas, because if so much elaboration is there, then we should just think about what is it that it's trying to tell us. Now Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji wraps up this topic. Okay, it's a beautiful closing where he says that having done all this analysis, okay, of this Pancha Koshas and everything, what do we want to finally conclude? He says, Atman is that which transcends all these 5 sheaths. We'll read it. Madiyam shariram, madiyam shariram, madiyaha pranaha, madiyaha pranaha, madiyam manascha, madiyam manascha, madiya buddhihi, madiya buddhihi, madiyam ajnanam iti, madiyam ajnanam iti, svenaiva jnayate, svenaiva jnayate, tadyatha, tadyatha, madiyatvena jnatam, madiyatvena jnatam, kataka kundala gruhadikam, kataka kundala gruhadikam, swasmad bhinnam, swasmad bhinnam, तथा पंचकोशादिकं, तथा पंचकोशादिकं, स्वस्मात् भिन्नं, स्वस्मात् भिन्नं, मदीयत्वेन ज्ञातं, मदीयत्वेन ज्ञातं, आत्मा न भवति, आत्मा न भवति. Together. मदीयं शरीरं, मदीयाः प्राणाः, मदीयं मनश्च, मदीया बुद्धिः, मदीयम अज्ञानमिति, स्वेनैव ज्ञायते तद्यथा, मदीयत्वेन ज्ञातं, कटककुण्डलगृहादिकं, स्वस्माद् भिन्नं, तथा पंचकोशादिकं, स्वस्माद् भिन्नं, मदीयत्वेन ज्ञातं, आत्मा न भवति. Now it looks like a very big paragraph, but it's actually not. It is the first introduction to Tarka Shastra that Bhagavan is giving us over here. Tarka means the Indian school of logic. Okay, there were different schools of thoughts. One of it was Nyaya Darshan. And they came up with such a beautiful way to systematically think about any topic. That introduction Bhagavan is giving us over here. Now, what is Tarka? Tarka means you are using logic to get clear knowledge of something. In simple words, using logic to get clear knowledge of something. That knowledge could be something that you have perceived, something that you have gained from the world. Right? In Shastra words, it is called as Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. Anubhuti means gaining knowledge, right? Experiencing something using the right pramana. Okay, that knowledge which takes place after using the right means of knowledge is called as Anubhuti. Now, let us say, for some reason, there is a doubt which comes in that Anubhuti. I am experiencing that thing, but I have to get clear knowledge about that thing. So my Anubhuti is not by itself giving me clear knowledge. So he said, use Tarka for that, use Yukti. With logic, you will be able to eliminate erroneous notions in your Anubhuti, and you will be able to get clear knowledge. For example, you go to the farmer's market, and there you see somebody who first looks to you like your brother-in-law from your village. Right? That person is looking the same, the way he dresses, the way he looks, everything is the same. And you are seeing with your eyes, this person is exactly like my brother-in-law. Now, Anubhuti is there. What will go on in your mind? You say you'll use Yukti. With logic, you will say, how this person cannot be my brother-in-law. First, you will make a statement. What is that statement? That this person cannot be my brother-in-law. Now, why? Your mind only will give some answer. Right? Mind will say, because I just spoke to him on the phone and he told me that he is in India. So like this, mind will use logic. So even if you are seeing something, through logic, you can come to the right understanding. There are several examples, but this was just one of it. Okay. So now let us come to this point now. There is a reason why this is color coded. Okay. Let us just start with the color coding. The first thing which is needed in logic is you make a pratijna. Pratijna means a declaration that you make. So first declaration Bhagwan makes is Tatha panchakoshadikam atma na bhavati. Whatever is there in red you see now. Therefore, panchakoshas, adi means all shariratraya, avasthatraya, all of that is not atma. Tatha panchakoshadikam atma na bhavati. This is your pratijna vakya. You are declaring something or hypothesis, what we generally call as. Why? Give some reason. Hetu should be given, right? So next one is called as hetu, means the reason. The reason he gives is swasmad bhinnam madiyatvena jnatam. Because it is known as different from me, and they are also known as mine. Means I say my mind, my panchakosha, my body. So all of them are known as something different from me. They are known as mine, so they cannot be Atma. Atma means true meaning of I. Right? So I have to be different from these panchakoshas and these shariratraya. Okay, this is the hetu which he gives. Then when you give hetu, you also have to give an example. Means you cannot just make a statement, give a reason, and then go away. So he says, give an example. So he says, drishtanta also I will give. Example is called as drishtanta. So there he says, madiyatvena jnatam kataka kundala gruhadikam swasmat bhinnam. Means just like things which are known as mine, madiyatvena jnatam. What are those? Like a bangle, like an earring, like a house. bangle, earring are something which is very close to me. House is little farther away. It could even be some land. It is even farther away. If it is known as mine, that means I am different from that thing. Okay, this is his drishtanta. So now he said, what next? You said all these three things. He said, now match this drishtanta to that darshtanta. The point that you want to actually show is called as darshtanta. Example is called as drishtanta. He says, match both these things. He says, yes, that also I will do, which is called as upanaya. Say, madiyam shariram, madiyaha prana. You see how you say for all these things? You say, my sharira, madiyam shariram, my pranas. My pranas are down today. My pranas are fully active today. So you see the phrase that you use, madiyam shariram, madiyaha pranaha. What about mind? That also is the same way. I say my mind. Madiya buddhi, my intellect, my buddhi. What about ignorance? You say that also you call as mine only, right? My ignorance. Ajnanam iti svena eva jnayate. It is known to oneself, or it is known of oneself. It is known by oneself. Therefore, all these things are swasmad bhinnam. It is different from me and it is known as mine. Just like a bangle, earring, or a house is also known as mine and it is different from me. In the same way, these panchakoshas are also different from me and they are known as mine. So I cannot be these panchakoshas. You see, again, he comes back and reiterates that point, which is called as nigamanam. There he says, tatha panchakoshadikam atma na bhavati. Means your pratijna and nigamanam have to be the same. Obviously, right? You write a research paper, first you make an hypothesis, your conclusion should be matching your hypothesis. And in between you describe whatever you want, and finally you arrive at that point. So with all this analysis, this is what Bhagavan wants to prove. Panchakosha he explained, Shariratraya he explained, Avasthatraya he explained. But what does he want us to take away from this? He says, know that all these things are known as mind. Therefore, I am different from all these things. Okay. Atma na bhavati. So then what is Atma? All these things are not Atma. What exactly is Atma? He said that I will explain now. Okay. So this, we can reflect on it. This will keep coming back, but a very precise way of thinking. Now, once this hetu becomes very thorough, right? Then we cannot go here and there in our thinking. It will become very precise. And there will be a lot of systematic flow of thoughts when it comes to our own nididhyasana, not only in other things. What we need precision is when we are there thinking about our true nature, how are we able to let go of what we are not? That is what we are trying to inquire here. So we'll pause here. There are some announcements, so please stay back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. We'll take few questions. I know we are almost out of time. I'll take the shorter ones. Okay. When Vedanta talks about the known things only, and faith is always about unknown, how do you reconcile these two things? What I understand from this question is, why do we need faith in Vedanta? Because you also made a statement saying that Vedanta always talks about known things, and you need faith where the thing is unknown, right? So how come faith is also needed in Vedanta if it's only going to talk about known things? So one thing we should remember is Atma is very well known. It is not an unknown other entity which I have to go and search somewhere. But I don't know the glory of this Atma. Consciousness is very well known. That is why I'm able to speak. That is why I'm able to hear. Or at least we can say, after listening to some satsang, this point becomes known to us. We might have spent several years where we did not even hear the word consciousness, Atma, or anything. But at least this much we knew that I am, and I'm having this ability to speak, hear. I'm a sentient being. Where faith is needed is the way to get clear knowledge of this Atma. There is a different method. For me to gain knowledge of any other thing in the world, I am familiar with one method. Right? I have to go and do something, and then I will get that thing. If I heard about a good, beautiful place, I have to go there and see that place. But when it comes to seeing Atma, Atma va are drashtavyaha, the method to do that is not by going somewhere else. Method to do that is by doing Shravanam. Now, if we don't have faith, how will we ever listen to anybody? Right? Even to sit down somewhere and listen to somebody talk, it needs a lot of faith. Forget about spiritual knowledge. Even if you go to some conference, so many presentations keep going on, right? For somebody to actually listen to that person, it needs faith that this person knows what he is talking. That is the first step. Then you will find the relevance, the topic, and everything. After that only, you will start listening to somebody. What to talk about Upanishads, which have so cryptic language, so many terms which are very different, the way they are portrayed, the way they are written. How will I get to know about that? You say, have faith. That will be a doorway for our spiritual journey. After Shravanam, Vedanta will tell us that now build upon that faith. Don't just stay there. See for yourself whether these things are true or not, and then you decide for yourself. So faith is needed there. What is the main reason? Because the method of inquiry is different over here. Because it is Shravana Pradhana, without Shraddha, we won't be able to do Shravanam. Without faith, we cannot do Mananam also. Because the data gathered during Shravanam is shaky. Now you won't be able to contemplate on it. And if you have doubts, you can anyways not meditate on it. So Shravanam won't happen, Mananam won't happen, and Nididhyasanam also won't happen. So all three things are rooted in Shraddha. Bhagavan says Shraddha is that which will accomplish the goal for us. Yaya vastu upalabhyate. With this Shraddha, we'll be able to reach our goal. And what is my general way of knowing things? I have known each and everything as an object only. This also we should see for ourselves. Throughout the day, whatever I have learned, throughout my life, whatever I have learned, has always been about some object. At the most, it can come to this physical body, which also is an object. It can come to the mind, which is also an object. What is behind the mind? What is that which is enlivening the mind? That thing is not an object. So if I don't have faith, first of all, I will not even believe that there is something called as Atma, which is having this kind of nature. So Shraddha will be that doorway which will help me enter into an inquiry about an object which is not an object of my sense organs. Right? That is why we need Shraddha. And later on, when Shravanam is done thoroughly, then we ourselves will get more conviction in this. That is what we all are striving for. Right? What is my true nature? That is the main conviction that I should get. Okay, I think we are over time. So this more questions we'll take next time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om.